Hello everyone, and welcome to another tutorial video right here on TriFig with me, Chris. Today's idea, we're going to be trying to take an image like this, where you can see the stand on your figure and turning it into an image like this. Pretty much we're just removing the stand. You can use this for a number of kind of figure photos. Nendoroids, Figmas, even full-scale figures. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and set up the shots and get them into Photoshop. So we'll see you in just a few seconds. Alright, so here we are in Photoshop, and as you can see, what we're going to really do today is we're going to try and remove this stand right here from our shot. We took this shot without a tripod and I took a few other ones. We're going to try and do the same thing for most of them. And pretty much once you get the basics, you can do it to any kind of photo. We're going to do the same thing that I've done in the past with these stands, and that's using a background shot that's clean, it has no figure on it. And I've done the same thing for all the other ones as well. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get up a little close on the stand so that we can make sure that we're not going to make any mistakes. We're going to de-rasterize the layer and go in and use the lasso tool just to go around the stand. Be careful if you get too close to your figure, you don't want to do that much cleanup, and then just avoid going into your figure if your stand does too. Just want to go right around this so that you can eventually just hit delete on Photoshop. That way it'll clear it up, and using the clean plate that we have in the background makes it a little bit easier. It's a little discolored right now, but you can go ahead and fix that. I'll show you right now. We're going to be going into the image section on Photoshop and just using color, saturation, and brightness and contrast to play around with it until we get a good color. So this is a good color right here, and what we're going to use is the eraser tool with a rather low opacity so that we can feather out any hard edges that are left for the delete that we did. Alright, now as you can see, since we didn't get close enough to the figure, we still have hard edge and some different kind of colors really close to the figure. So you want to just make your brush size a little smaller, go really close but not too close so that you don't end up erasing part of the figure's leg. You can play around with opacity and stuff like that, and then just kind of see what works out for your brush tool. Alright, so as for the part of the stand that's going into the figure, if you push the arc button in Photoshop, you can start to rotate your screen, just helps a lot better. But we're still using the brush eraser tool, to go in and get really close to the hair, and since the hair is out of focus a little bit, it makes it easier when we do the opacity and a softer brush so that you don't have to worry about getting a hard edge from that as well. As for the stand, what we're doing is we're going to use the paint brush right here. What we're doing is we're color picking around the same area that the stand is in the hair so that you can just kind of color over and repaint that area to make it look like the hair. So we'll go ahead and just we'll speed this up in just a moment. Alright, so there you go. Pretty much it's starting to look out really good. We've got the stand out, but we did notice there's some specks because of all the abuse my figures go through when I'm taking photos everywhere. You can fix this really easy using the oval selection tool. We're just going to go around any kind of spots you've got on your figure, and once you've got them all selected, you can actually just do content aware with Photoshop. It's actually really good. It will fill up pretty fast. Okay, sorry for the pause. So once you have this set up, say you have a different photo that you were taking really quick and you didn't have a chance to take a second image without the figure so that you can have a clean plane. You can still remove the stand, it's just a little bit more labor intensive, and what you're going to be using is a mixture of the clone stamp tool and the brush tool in Photoshop. Clone stamp tool is kind of cool because what you're doing is selecting another area of the photo that you want to essentially use as a copy and paste with the brush tool over an area you don't want anymore. So what we're doing here is using the clone stamp tool to select one of the autofocus areas on the fluffy base, and just being super careful, you want to go ahead and fill in around the stand so that we are essentially painting it but not having to go through all the problems of selecting colors and making a whole new background over it. You just want to be careful because since the clone stamp tool kind of selects parallel to where you're painting, if you move too fast, move out of the area, you can start to paint in features that you may not want. You also want to be careful getting really close to the figure, because then you'll start to paint in something you don't need, and then you'll have to go through erasing and more touch-ups. If you want to get really close to the figure, recommendation is you make a new layer. That's the fun part about Photoshop. You can make a new layer for all this stuff, and if you don't like it, you can always go back. Right here I'm using the brush tool to get really close and essentially just paint in the area instead of using the clone stamp. And that way, if you paint into the skin, you can always select color from the skin and paint that in as well. So in a moment, I'm going to go ahead and speed the process up just so you're not here listening to me talk over a repeated process, because it's just going to be the same thing that we're doing here. Just going to get a little more into the detail. So in a moment, we'll go ahead and speed this up. So as you can see, I'm just kind of going in, repeating the same steps: clone stamp, brush tool, new layer for all of those stuff, and painting everything in so we can get a final image. And it's starting to look out pretty good. I'm going to go in and fix this just because the image had a little bit more noise than what the clone and the brush tool were being able to reproduce. So I'm just going in there, adding a little bit of noise, cleaning it up, smoothing it out, and then just like that, you'll have a final image. So I think it looks a lot better like this. It looks more like she's in her own little world as opposed to being displayed. So I really hope you take it into consideration when you're shaking a photo. Go ahead, remove that sand, take the extra effort, make it look extra cool. Once you get a handle of that, you can start doing it to a number of photos. These next three are more shots I did for Emilia's birthday image set, and he's using the same stuff, clone brush and deleting, brush tool, everything together. These next photos do get a little more complicated just because I have a lot more reflections going on and more out of focus backgrounds, but it's essentially the same process, and you can get a better effect like this without removing the stand and just painting everything in. Alright, so I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Go ahead and like this video if you found it helpful. Don't forget to subscribe for future figure videos and reviews, and check out my Instagram for more photos if you're interested. So thank you guys, and until later, we'll see you.